Hello, my friends. Oh, excuse me. Already at the gate. Swear to God. Damn it. Sorry. Hi. Welcome to the Space Game Junkie podcast. Oh, my God. I, as always, am your co-host, Brian. Joining me, as always, is your co-host, Jim.
Almost never always, but sometimes.
Most of the time. Almost always.
Yes.
And your co-host, Spaz.
Hello.
And we're not sure where Hunter is. He might be in... We're guessing... He's marked as playing EVE Online right now, so I bet you he's in some kind of deep fleet op or wormhole that he can't leave.
With the Galente ambassador.
Something like that. Like some giant fleet battle around... Was it Jita? Some giant thing around Jita is probably going on that he's involved with. Folks, we're having some internet issues already at the gate. I am not sure why. Just want to apologize for those who are watching locally. I'm already getting varying bit rates on OBS and through Discord. So this is going to be a fun show. We do have a guest for y'all tonight joining us from Boulder, Colorado. The programmer, artist, and game designer on stellar Nomad, the game we're going to be talking about, Evan Williams. Welcome, Evan.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining us. We are actually really excited about your top-down sandbox thing, because your alpha has a lot of gameplay in it for an alpha.
Yeah, I wouldn't even be comfortable calling it an alpha. It's kind of a tech demo at this point.
It's
basically just like, here's the pieces that are going to make a video game out of, and give me a little while to balance them and turn them into something that's actually fun.
But it's got gameplay already. Do missions, and there's a faction you could join, and it like a tech demo is like, here's the tech, there's no game, but here's a game. You know? So,
yeah, I mean, there's stuff to do, there's progression, but like, I mean, there's no story, there's no narrative. Yeah, a lot of that stuff has not made its way in, and the map is extremely small. There's only about 40 systems, and I'm aiming for more like 200 to 300.
Wait, 40 is really small.
Oh, yeah. You could explore that whole thing in like half an hour. It's going to be a lot bigger.
Yeah, I really did like the transit in the game. I really like how you can set routes on the map. It's a nice little usability thing that some games forget, or some games.
Yeah, I think the important thing is that you get a lot of stars in, and probably like next to no content, and you'll do fine.
Yeah,
because
you can cruise.
Sick elite.
You can cruise for years on that, and that'll just put the thin veneer.
One of the marketing lines I've been testing out is 100 billion times less content than Elite Dangerous. Actually.
Oh shit! Shots fired. Oh my God!
Of the burn.
That being said, I actually like Elite, but well,
Elite
you got to be invested in it.
Elite is a great that's Starship flight simulator. It's great at that.
Yeah. It's like, we like it. We just wish that it was
there was
more
something to
engaging. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like Thargoids, right? They're there if you so choose to go hunt them down.
Do they do anything?
There's a lot of content, but you got to go hunt it down. Yeah, they'll attack you, but it's a thing like, hey, there's a point in space, and if you want to go fight a Thargoid, go to the amusement park.
Oh, kind of thing. Go ahead.
Sorry, I'm keep stepping on everybody's toes. One of the design philosophies behind this game was like, I want to have lots of content in the game, but I'm not going to shove it all on your face. It's mostly just there to be discovered, and I want you to sort of give you enough to figure out how to get around, and then kind of figure out the rest of the world as you go.
Can we coin the term content facial?
No. Go ahead and could you define that for me, or do I need to go to
yeah, you got to be a little clearer about that, Jim. Because don't get your content in my eye. We don't want to go that route. We got to be careful. I mean, this game isn't being made in the San Fernando Valley.
Don't get hit by the microtransaction shots. But anyway,
Yeah, wow, already, right? Like,
so this is going to be an Epic Store exclusive then? Is that what you're saying?
We're
just going to get all the bats out of the cage.
We're a feisty bunch tonight, y'all. We are.
Yeah, let's just hit all the let's hit all the beats. Epic Store exclusive, microtransaction driven.
Day one DLC.
No. None of those things. It'll be on Steam, but mostly to reach a larger audience. But I also plan to have a DRM free version that's on itch for the same price. So you pick your poison.
Nice.
Cool. I like itch more and more.
Itch is great. Itch is great.
Yeah, it's a cool discovery platform. Although, I wish that they had a better system for discovery.
Like, I was just about to say the same thing.
Like the discovery queue stuff that Steam does would be beautiful over at itch. Oh yeah, because I think
the itch team is like 3 people, or at least it was at one point. They may have grown by now, but
it's so tiny.
It's 90. Okay.
No, it's tiny. And
okay.
And the thing is, they're getting more and more games, and a lot of this stuff on there is freeware browser crap, sure, but there's a lot of good stuff on there. And
and a lot of that freeware browser crap is good experimental ideas that people aren't trying anywhere else. So I would rather like screw around with somebody's like 10-minute cool idea that it's like maybe that doesn't flesh out into a full game, but it's a really interesting 10 minutes and it might inspire somebody else like that.
Yeah,
that would be
on itch. It doesn't need to be a full game. It can be just that,
Yeah, exactly. It's the
that
new
kind of thing.
It's
Spaz,
the Newgrounds.
Sorry, Spaz, what was that card game that someone found on itch like a week or two ago? It was like a roguelike card game where you would...
Yeah, I posted about it. Forward is the name of it.
Forward, yeah, you posted it. I'm sorry, I couldn't remember who posted it. But yeah, that was a little browser like roguelike card game where you have like 3 cards in front of you. You choose which card you go to, and it gives you like a shield or some money or a monster, and you just go up the deck as you move. And it's very simple and very fun, and it's just a little browser game on itch. So yeah,
that gave me the
great.
That gave me the dumbest idea, right? So there's 3 doors in front of you, and you pick one of the 3, and you deal, and then like you have to gamble on doors. It would be like Let's Make a Deal, the roguelike.
Here's our first tangent. I was listening to the Dollop podcast today, which if y'all haven't listened to is amazing. It's 2 comedians talking about crazy stuff in American history. And apparently gangs in New York would build labyrinths where cops would break into one door. There'd be 3 doors. They break into another door. There'd be 3 more doors. And so on and so forth. So that was actually a thing.
Behind one of the doors.
I don't know, but apparently they would make it very difficult for the cops to actually get into the gang's place. So
wild.
So it's kind of funny you brought that up.
SWAT raid the game show.
Anyway, back to Stellar Nomad.
It's a home game.
Lean into the tangents.
That's exactly right. That should be our subtitle. Space Game.
God, I haven't had a good belly laugh on this show in a while, and we're killing it. So
lead into the tangents.
We have to talk about this game eventually, but
yeah. Well, I mean, when did you start working on it?
A real long time ago. Like the initial iteration of what became Stellar Nomad was probably 7 years ago. Part of the problem at that point is my abilities as a programmer were quite limited, and I just they did not match my ambition. And so it's been revisited every couple years since then. And the version that you're playing that we're watching right now, I started in early 2017, and I've just been doing nights and weekends on it since then.
Okay, because I mean, I don't think it crashed once on me in my entire time with it.
I'm super glad to hear that.
I think I stopped playing because I got killed, because the little ship you start in is really just a dinky little tin can of a thing.
Yes.
Well, that's first station that you land at the end of the tutorial stuff. You can actually upgrade to the next ship right there. It's got a little pea shooter on it. And I would have thought an interesting thing for pre-alpha thing though would be have a money cheat in there maybe. so that I can screw around with the big ship right off the bat if I wanted to.
Well, there is a money bug in there that's totally exploitable if you find it, but it is since fixed, but not on the version that's on itch. But that's definitely not the same as an actual money cheat. Yeah. Although I've been considering, like I have a cheat debug version that I build locally, and I've been considering just putting that up separately for people to play with, and just kind of explore the full extents of the game.
Oh, cool. Hey, so one thing I want to nip it in the bud.
Sure.
Whenever you hit M to open the map, but you can't hit M and close the map. You have to click. So
that's coming. That's coming. I can't believe it. I can't believe I forgot to get that in the last update. That is, boy, I think maybe 100 people have told me, why doesn't M close the map? And I'm like, cool. But I promise you right now, it is on my Trello for the next update. Nice. M should close map.
Or put a tooltip, like Alt F4 to close map.
Well, the escape key will close the map, but that's not exactly intuitive.
Yeah, it's not. We do have a question from the audience from Mad Irishman. Why are you mad?
Yeah, sure.
Will you be adding procedural content to the game? I thought it was all procedural, or is it not procedural? Like, how does that work?
It is, none of it is procedural. Like the missions are procedural. Like the missions that you go, like when you pick up a mission from the from the mission board, those are procedurally generated. Like I swap out the objectives, and then I weight the rewards based on like how far you go, and if it's a mission where you might get attacked, the chance of being attacked weights will also influence the payout. So if you have a mission that might be dangerous and the payout's quite high, it's because you're going to get rocked. But the intention is for like the main map to be essentially fixed for every player, at least in terms of like locations and names and stars and planets. All those things are going to be fixed. However, there's an algorithm running under the surface every time you jump, essentially. A little bit of time passes, and when you do, the galaxy changes some. Like prices on goods will change as time passes. Who controls what star system will change slightly as time passes, to the point that if you keep playing, the map looks completely different than when you started. And if my design functions correctly, it will never roll quite the same way twice for any one playthrough. And so you might get like a completely different layout as time goes on in your game if you choose not to participate in the like the conquest or the economy or whatever. Like things will just change on their own. So it's sort of procedural, but also sort of not.
So can you elaborate on the conquest and economy that you just mentioned?
Sure. Like one of the big like late game activities will be either joining a faction and participating in like their conquest, where you and right now the conquest system is fairly simple. If you are in a star system and you kill a ship of an opposing faction, the faction that you are a member of gains influence, and the faction that like lost a ship loses influence. And so if you go to a system and you have a successful battle, your faction gains some influence, to the point that it can the ownership of that system can switch hands while you're there because of your activities. But those sorts of things are simulating under the hood, so that they're happening in every star system all the time. And like they're based essentially on like you can kind of predict the ways that things will move, because it's sort of proximity based. Like if you're in a cluster of systems owned by one faction, they're probably going to stay fairly stable. But if there's, say, like a system caught in between two larger factions, that one's going to change hands a lot. Weird things are going to happen there. And then that can create an imbalance in those two previously stable areas. And they can also start to change pretty quickly. If that doesn't make sense, feel free to ask me for some clarification. But
no, it sounds a lot like Space Rangers, which is a good thing. It sounds like there's a kind of a simulation going on under the hood that, helps determine, ownership and influence and things like that, which is awesome.
Yeah. And and it's all keyed to like, so part of the fiction of the game is that like, have you guys read, I assume you probably are familiar with Ender's Game and maybe some of the much weirder sequels. Anyway, it's like the lore is centered around the idea that like light speed or faster than light speed travel takes time. And And so like every time you jump, you're paying your crew a certain amount of money. What you're paying them for is for the time that they just lost. Like their family and friends back on a planet somewhere just got a little bit older, and they just jumped, and it for them experienced it in a moment. And so the amount of time that passes when you jump directly drives a lot of other things in the game, including conquest. Like it's basically a multiplier for, this thing happened while you were in FTL traveling at FTL speeds, and it's multiplied by this much because you were at FTL for this long. If that makes some sense. So like a lot of the lore and a lot of other
sense
center around that. Like it's not like hard science-y or realistic necessarily, but just gives a nod to that idea.
No, that makes total sense. That was one of the things I liked the later, probably one of the only things I liked the later Ender's Game.
Yeah, no, they get a little strange, but I did like that. God. I liked that about those books.
I'm totally with you. They got weird, but then it is, it's that guy. So I mean,
speaking of those books, right? Speaker for the Dead, I thought was the best of them because it had
the last one I read.
Really weird shit in the planet, but the whole concept of that planet and what was going on was really interesting.
Was that the one where it was told from the perspective of his buddy at the academy?
No, that's Ender's Shadow, if I remember right.
Okay, yeah, Ender's Shadow is okay, because Ender's Shadow is a retelling of the first book, but from the perspective of.
Yeah, I didn't think it was that great.
I like that more than I thought I would, actually.
I think I actually liked it more than the original book. It was better in the retelling, honestly. But I think you had to have read the original book first in order to for that book to actually hit. It wouldn't have seemed better if you didn't know the story from the original perspective. But Speaker for the Dead was pretty damn cool. I remember like they were trying to figure the ecosystem of the planet out, right? And it was like, so everything was sharing genetics with each other. So it was like the deer would walk in the grass, and then the grass would actually like fertilize the deer. It's like rubbing on its belly, and it's gets the deer pregnant kind of thing. And it's like, wow, what a weird ass ecosystem, completely alien, very inventive.
Right. I don't even remember that one. I think I read it. I don't know.
I'm trying to remember what the last one was that I read.
It was so long ago.
Yeah, it was several years ago that I read any of them. Although I read Ender's Game, I kind of reread that every year or so, probably.
Yeah, I was not huge on the movie. I mean,
no.
I didn't even.
Although I got to see that one for free, so it was still maybe not worth the time. But
damn, just got it for free. You watch it for. I run into movies like that. Like, what was it I watched the other day? We couldn't even finish Star Trek Nemesis. We had never seen it. And
oh boy, no, that's the one that killed the franchise. Like that's why there weren't any Star Trek movies for a while.
We got like 20-30 minutes in, and then we just were like, nope, we're done. There's not enough water in the world.
Well, they had the guy with the stretchy face, and it just reminded me of that scene in Brazil when and if you're not familiar with Brazil, there's like old lady getting a facelift in there.
Oh, God,
they've basically got like pins in her face, and her face is like stretched across it. and I was just like, wow, this is like a ripoff of Brazil. I'm out.
Good Lord.
Yeah, no, that movie was So I'm with you. Like when I saw Man of Steel for free, I was angry. I got drunk off wine. I got like really tipsy, and I was still mad. I was like, I want my time back. I paid nothing for this, but I want my time back. Anyway,
since we're movie talking, right? I'm not going to talk about Star Wars, but Palpatine's back, y'all.
I
haven't seen the trailer. Shh.
Oh, it's sorry.
I haven't seen the trailer. It's okay.
Yeah. It's just like at the end, it's got Palpatine's laugh, but on Kevin Smith's podcast, the guy that co-hosts with him was funny as hell. He's like, why is the Joker laughing at the end? He's like, because Mark Hamill's like, my name's in the title, bitch. I was like, yay. But he had like a weird sick thought about that though. He's like, they call it like Rise of the Skywalker, and he's like, what if this is being the third movie and it's JJ, right? So it would be like Return of the Jedi, Return of the Skywalker. But what if you swap the Jedi for Skywalker? So he's like, well, what if they were known as the Jedi, but now the Jedi are gone? So now all the new people are going to be called Skywalkers.
That's probably where they're going with it. Unless Rey is somehow secretly a Skywalker.
No, Rey is actually a clone of Anakin made from his severed hand.
Oh, I was thinking it was a clone of Mon Mothma. That's what I was thinking.
Dude, like the internet like conspiracy theory Star Wars factory is in full tilt, and I've been reading this stuff,
Celebration just happened. Of course they are.
I know, but I'm reading like all these like ridiculous fan theories, and it's like, you know, like all the Snoke theories are back, and I miss Snoke theories. That was great. But anyway, I just want to see somebody make like a mashup script where they have to include like the top 100 goofy ass fan theories and actually incorporate them into some kind of script that's like, there's your writer challenge, like make all this shit actually fit. And
I mean, isn't that basically what the fan rewrite of the previous movie was? It's basically just everyone says we're gonna fix it, and they're trying to rewrite it. Yeah, that's totally a thing.
Oh boy.
Oh yeah.
Okay, totally. Sure.
But anyway, you know, actual good movie that I saw this weekend is Battle Angel Alita.
Oh,
holy shit!
I thought you were going to say Hellboy for a second.
No, I saw like Hellboy is out, and I'm like, what? So I didn't even know they were doing a remake of that thing.
It looks bad.
Right under my radar.
I'm going to go see it. But it looks bad. It looks real bad.
Dude, Battle Angel, like Spaz being the other anime guy here. I'm not really the anime guy, right? Like I've seen, you know, the Battle Angel anime. I'm familiar with it. Seen it recently, in fact, and I was just like, there's no way they're going to tell this whole shit in a Hollywood movie. That's not going to happen. And oh God, they did. And it was so much better than it had any right to be. You know, it was like they covered a lot of ground in like a 2-hour movie. But yeah, it was good times. Like it was 10 times better easily than the Ghost in the Shell movie, which was not terrible. So yeah. It did it right. And Christoph Waltz totally brought it. You know, he was completely believable as Vash.
He always brings it. He's
but actually, like watching him fight with a rocket cane was pretty great.
Okay, I'm intrigued now. Anyway, back to
his weapon. His weapon is basically it's a staff with a hammer on the head and a rocket, and that's how he kills cyborgs. Is just like rocket hammer. It's the most anime thing you'll ever see.
That wouldn't be like my first instinct if I had to kill cyborgs, but I guess if it gets the job done.
I guess
it really hard.
It works. I mean, if it works, why not? So
yeah, it's like the Pacific Rim rocket punch.
You know what? I got nothing against the Pacific Rim rocket punch at all.
Exactly. So just when the thing, I mean, you probably can't catch it in theaters anymore. I caught it in the like dollar cheapo cinema, like this thing's going out kind of deal. But the Blu-ray cannot be far, and I will be buying that Blu-ray. And I haven't bought a Blu-ray for probably 5 years. So there you go.
What? You know, are you one of those people that aren't into physical media anymore?
Just Netflix stuff. But it's like I don't feel the need to own movies so much because I don't get them out, and you know, it's not like Star Wars original trilogy where I'm going to bust that thing out every couple months and watch it. But this movie, yeah, it'll be like in the rotation like Pacific Rim. You know, it's like probably once every 6 months I'm going to bust that thing out.
Well, we're not planning on talking about so many movies this show, but I think it's one of those days, y'all.
Well, he said he'll come back, so we'll just talk about the game when he comes back. It's cool.
I didn't leave.
No, I mean like next time you're on.
Oh, I don't remember agreeing to come back.
Oh, hey. Oh, come on.
Just did. Anyway.
Oh, my God. Yeah, this is your first and last show. The game shut down shortly after that and was never heard from again.
Oh, please don't jinx me. Please don't jinx me.
No. I was thinking.
You think you get to leave?
No, I was thinking we ruined you, not the other way around. Another question. Will there be capital ships in the game?
Yes, absolutely. There already are several, including some that can launch fighters.
Oh, and will you be able to own those yourself, or are you just...
Yep. Full stop. Every ship you see in the game, you can fly.
Ooh, I love a good carrier.
Can they have that Urquan sound effect where every time you launch fighters, they're like, launch fight?
Well, funny you should mention. I actually just brought on a pro sound designer, so I have a whole lot of latitude on what I can do with the audio, so I'm very excited about that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, that's one of my day job connections who happens to love space games, and he got all excited about it. So, yeah, he's in.
Super cool. So I have to ask you in general about, because this being a top-down space game, right? Like, what other top-down space games, like if I said, like, recommend me top-down space games similar to yours, what's your go-to stuff that you're kind of basing this from?
So... as a kid, I played the ever-loving hell out of the Escape Velocity series. Escape Velocity, Escape Velocity Override, and EV Nova. And there just isn't really a game that really scratches that itch for me. Like, there's a few that exist, like
Endless Sky,
Endless Sky and Transcendence.
When you started me in a gunless shuttle, I knew that you had played some EV Nova.
Oh, I think I owe my career in game development to getting involved with Escape Velocity early on. I was like 10 and making plugins for Escape Velocity on my Performa 580 in my house. It got me started there. And so that's also one of the things that if I don't include it in this game, I won't feel like it's fully a spiritual successor to that series. It needs to have mod support. And so it's being built with that idea in mind, although I haven't actually tested the pipeline yet because there's still a few missing pieces. So is this theoretically expandable?
Is this homebrew engine or you're doing
it's Unity.
Okay. Because Unity's kind of a bitch to do workshop support for, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit annoying. But like, I'm not a graphics programmer, and taking the time to sit down and write my own homebrew engine would mean that I never got this thing done, considering it started 7 years ago.
Well, it's just usually when people say, I'm going to put in extensive mod support stuff, then Unity's off the table because of the way that it archives up all of its assets.
Yeah, so there are ways that you can load assets created by Unity externally. And so someone who was going to make a mod that included like a new ship model or a new planet model or something, they would need to download and install Unity, and then I would provide essentially a toolkit and a DLL that would let them like say, here's my model, set it up as a ship for the game, and package it up as an asset that it will load. And then anyone who wanted to actually play it would just drop that mod in the mods folder and off you go. It should not be that hard. And then like a lot of the game's data itself is structured just as text files. And so it's really, really easy to just create new missions or create new star systems or whatever, because they're all just text. You could just create a new one. And I'll be shipping, I plan to be shipping both the mission editor, the map editor, and like my generic asset editor that I use to do basically any asset in the game can be edited by that tool, but it's better suited for stuff like ships and weapons and factions. But all that stuff should come with the game, if not at launch, shortly after.
That is awesome. Because, I mean, one of the reasons people love Escape Velocity, like you were saying, is because they can make, what'd you call it, a script, right?
Yeah, I mean, you could do, I played a Star Wars Total Conversion for Escape Velocity way back in the day. And I know I think there was a Battlestar Galactica one for EV Nova. You can make as big a mod as you want for that game, limited basically by your ambition. And I would like to leave as many of those levers available to be pushed and pulled by the players as I can. If you want to turn Stellar Nomad into Space Dicks the game, like, please do. That would be awesome. I would love it if someone did that. Because that meant they took time to do it. It'd be cool. I mean, I've seen what people do to Skyrim. They're degenerates. I understand how it works.
Yeah.
Like,
genital space jousting could be a thing.
Oh, damn it.
Dude, that game, it's so good, and you just won't play it.
I will not. I've got other games.
Esport of the future.
On the other hand, there's a game like Star Wall, Just the Tip, which they actually took that part of the title out of the game, and they just called it Star Wall.
But I imagine the gameplay stayed basically the same.
Yes, they just changed the name because they wanted to make it more family friendly.
Left that a little bit unspoken. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, Brian also hasn't played the Mount Your Friends that I gifted him years ago.
Do I own that? I don't even remember.
Yes, you do.
Do I? I don't even know. Maybe I do. Maybe I don't. I don't know. Anyway. So you're hesitant to call this an alpha right now, but like I would call it an alpha. You got stuff in here. So what kind
there's
of
stuff in there. Strictly speaking, the definition of an alpha is feature complete, and I'm not there yet.
I thought that was a beta. Isn't a beta? Or is that a beta?
Beta's like
complete?
Yeah. I mean, it depends on who you ask. But if you go by the traditional definition of an alpha from my neighborhood, which might be different than literally everyone else's, it means that the game is feature complete.
Okay.
And there are quite a few things that I still like, game systems that need to go in still. But the game is at a point now where there's enough stuff that you can actually play it and have like experience some progression that I thought it was worth like getting it out in front of people so that I could get some feedback on things that to me seemed super clear, but to other people were like, wow, what the hell? I don't know how to do anything. And boy, there was a lot of that at the first launch. A whole bunch. The game's changed quite a bit since the first version came out. And most of it's been focused on usability and UI and user experience. Very little actual content has gone in since it's shipped. Or I say shipped, since I put it up on itch.
And so there is an economy in the game. How because we love a good economy in an open space game. So are we
right now it's not good. It's not good right now.
Okay. But what is the plan? What is the plan for the economy?
So the plan for the economy is to have some sort of logic and sense and balance. Right now, the way that it's set up is essentially every planet gets a random selection of the number of goods that are in like the goods database. And then its price is basically randomized. And so you can, even right now, you can find really excellent trade routes that are in system. Like you don't even have to jump. You can just go back and forth between two planets in the same star system. But I have in the code exposed a lot of different buttons and levers that I can manipulate to change how things work in the economy. And so it's going to be a matter of like sitting down and figuring out how I want that to actually go. Like I would like it. One of the things that does already work, for example, is if you use the same trade route too often, you burn it out. Like the prices even out and you got to leave it alone for a little while until they like go back to what they were. And then you can keep doing that. Both like to make trading maybe less boring because you're not doing literally exactly the same thing in exactly the same place for, just grinding it out, but also to kind of encourage you to explore, like go find something else to do or find a different activity. And I don't know if that sort of, thing is necessarily going to be well received by the player base. And so I'm open to feedback on that kind of thing. Like maybe you don't really care if trading is boring and repetitive. You just want to get money so you can get a cool new ship and move on with your life. Maybe that's what you're going to do. And maybe that's how it'll go. But I would like to have the economy be a lot more like responsive to what you do and responsive to other events in like the galaxy map. There are a few things that happen right now that can affect the prices of goods pretty dramatically. Like if a star system is designated a war zone, goods that are, scarce and valuable during wartime, like food, water, weapons, and components of weapons or ships or whatever, those things all go up in price. And then if you, as I've turned the blockading feature off in the current demo because it's wildly imbalanced. But if you, as the player, are trading too many of those goods in a war zone, the enemy faction will start blockading it, and they'll blow up literally anybody who comes in carrying any cargo at all. But if you can sneak by them, the prices are incredibly high, and so you can make a ton of money running blockades. So like there's things like that that already affect prices, but that's not really like dynamic in a broad way. Like I'd like to have, a particular planet has a particular economic specialty. And so, it produces certain goods at a higher rate, and those goods are going to be cheaper there. And then, maybe another planet has a different economic specialty. And as a result, it needs lots of those goods, but doesn't produce them on its own. So prices there are high. And so I'd like to be able to both like hook all that up. And essentially that's the bones of that kind of system is there. But it's so imbalanced and kind of random feeling right now, and none of the data is exposed to the players. Like you can't look at a planet and know like, oh, they focus on producing like food. That's what they do. You can't know that, and so you can't really make any rhyme or reason out of it. And so for right now, most stuff is just turned off. But as I get deeper into the UI programming, I'll be exposing more of that sort of information, at which point I'd feel more comfortable turning it on for the players to kind of experience it and mess with it. And those sorts of things should provide like bigger opportunities to make more money quickly. Wow, I just talked a really long time.
No, that's okay. That's okay. No, we love, that's one of the reasons we do this, is we love how the sausage is made.
So you were talking about how players can, it's like you're free to go do your thing. So you're going to have like mining in there as a trading option as well?
Maybe. But in like every game that I've ever played that has it, I hate mining. And so I haven't really gotten around to it. I'm not super interested in it. It's one of those things though, if there's demand, absolutely, I will put it in. If people say, we would love to mine space rocks, I'd be like, fine, let's mine some space rocks. We can do that. Like it's part of the difficulty is like there'd be some like logistical problems to work out with that. Like where would I put these asteroids that you would want to mine? Because the scale that the star systems are at, they're kind of small, and so fitting that in a way that makes sense might get weird. But that's up to me to figure out, I suppose. People tell me they want to mine space rocks, they can mine some space rocks. That's fine. We can do that.
Well, if you want to put it in, come to me. I got some ideas about that.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't even be that difficult. I already have like, when ships blow up, if they're carrying cargo, they drop cargo containers, and you can just fly over them and scoop them up and sell them. It wouldn't be that difficult to put in an asteroid that if you blow it up, it drops, rocks that you can pick up and go sell.
My quick thought, right, is like, if you have systems out there that, let's say they don't have planets that are dockable or whatever.
Yeah, quite a few actually.
But you could have an asteroid ring, right?
Yeah.
And depending on, like what's in the ring. So you have other NPC ships that could be out there mining it, which is your opportunity if you want to go out and just smoke NPC miner ships, kill them. But also then they would have people that defend them. So it would be kind of a like run in, kill a couple dudes, scoop their cargo, get out, kind of almost a piracy, but a mine piracy thing. But also if you go somewhere and there's a mining operation with people that you're not friendly with, you're not going to be mining there because their military is going to run you out, kind of thing. So it's like all the things that Elite should have done that didn't.
As you're saying that, like most of the pieces that you're describing already exist. If you jump into a system and you want to smoke some NPCs and steal their cargo, you totally can. If they have any buddies in the system that are, either like that are any kind of warship, like they're a fighter or they're a capital ship, they're going to come after you for doing that. Like a lot of that stuff already exists, and like fleets already exist in the game, ships that work together.
Yeah, that's the thing that we should talk about too, is like, this is not like player owns a single ship, but I saw you have fleet options there. So when you buy a ship, you can add it to a fleet, not just trade your ship.
Yeah. And really to progress far in much of anything, like you'll need several ships in your fleet, if not, a jillion. At this point, there isn't an upper limit on the number of ships that you can have. It gets pretty ridiculous past about 10, honestly. Like the formation starts to look absurd. But for some reasons, I may end up capping the number of ships that you can have in your fleet at once, but it'll be pretty high.
So are you going to differentiate what kinds of ships? Like, I need a support ship for this. I need a cargo ship. You know, if I'm going to haul stuff, I could tell the cargo ship to pick up all that cargo, and I just fly the fighter, or stuff like.
Short answer, yes. Like you can stay in whatever ship you want and add gigantic freighters to your fleet. And then you can just, like most of the trading and cargo happens planet side right now and not in space. But it would not be that difficult to issue orders to your fleet based on their role, and ships are already divided up that way. Like there's, right now, there's not a big distinction between civilian ships and freighter ships, other than like freighter ships carry a lot of freighters. But essentially, those two classes of ship are going to do the same thing, like in most AI type situations. And then there's fighters and there's capital ships, and those two classes will also do different things in different circumstances. Like you can't, so the AI is already differentiated in a bunch of ways, and it would not be difficult. When issuing orders to say like, hey, freighters, go do this. Hey, fighters, go attack that. Hey, capital ships, stay right here and keep me alive. Well,
it's good to hear that you're not going to have the ships just kind of glob around with the player. You know, it's like, okay, they're always in a circle around me kind of thing. So you can, how do you give orders? Is it going to be like select them and then RTS it on the map?
So it's right now you can give them, there's a few orders you can give, but you can't differentiate by class of ship yet. Like you can right click and they'll just move to wherever you right clicked and kind of roughly stay in formation. There's like a hold position command, stop what you're doing and stay right where you are. There's a return to formation command and an attack my target command. And most of with those things, just those things, you can accomplish most of what you need to. But I would really love it if I got into a firefight to be able to tell my freighters, like, get out of here. You're going to get destroyed. And the rest of my ships, please go fight. So those are some of the things that I'm going to need to add.
Are you going to have like limited munitions? Like I can only carry X number of missiles and then I got to go like rearm? Because if I had a freighter and it's actually carrying ammo for me, and then I have to defend the freighter, but it resupplies me. And then you could have like another freighter that actually scoops up the cargo from the people that you kill, right? So it would be like almost like you have your fleet and then you have tender ships that are in it, and also like in Independence War 2, one of the very cool things about that game was you'd go in and fight, but you didn't scoop the cargo yourself. You actually had a buddy with a freighter who'd come swooping in and like grab the cargo and jet off with it, kind of thing. That's the thing about that game that's always stuck with me is like, wow, nobody else has ever done that again.
No, I like that. I like that. That gives me some interesting ways to use fleet ships. Because current strategy right now is if you are trading, you should have your freighters in your fleet, but otherwise you should dock them and just leave them out of it. Mm-hmm. And I feel like having reasons to bring them with you, even if you're expecting a firefight, is kind of cool. And so I'm actually writing that down right now.
Let's see, have you because I asked you before about like other games that you'd played, and you said Escape Velocity and that. Other games that we've had people on, like there's Endless Sky, which is a really great game that's very similar to I don't know if he set out to just remake Escape Velocity.
It seems like it to me, actually. Yeah, like it's very verbatim Escape Velocity, and I've tried to move the formula forward in some ways and do some things that the just couldn't. But yeah, I mean it's very similar to that. But I mean, in terms of other games, is that where you were going with that?
Yeah, so I'm looking at that. I've played a lot of 3030 Death War. If you haven't, you should.
I have never even heard of that.
Oh God, that's an amazing game.
3030 Death War.
Yeah, it's top-down elite, and you have the ability to get out of the ship and like walk around in the bars and talk to NPCs and stuff. That's
neat,
pretty crazy.
And that's done.
It's amazing.
That's done Lucasfilm style. The Lucasfilm adventure game style.
Yeah, in fact, really? Your guy kind of looks like Indiana Jones. He's got the hat and everything.
Yeah, it's really great.
Dude, I was crying whenever I walked into the police bar and the robot from that movie Rotor was standing behind the bar, and I had to go on their Discord and just cackle. It was like, I see what you did. I didn't think anybody else had seen that shitty movie, and it was just like, wow, okay, I'm shocked. But yeah, so other game, we've had the developer on for Star Nomad, which is the sequel to Nomads of the Fallen Star. Star Nomad, also called Nomad. You might want to consider
that is an uncomfortably close name.
Yeah, you should name your game Void Nomad and just make it completely unfun.
I'm probably too far down that path at this point.
Yeah, I know you're already committed. You got the domain and the itch presence and everything. You'll be fine with that. But Star Nomad, interesting game. The shocking thing is the engine that he used, because it's like a Google Chrome in a box, some kind of Google game engine that he used on PC, and it also works on tablets and stuff. So yeah, I didn't even know that existed until he came on the show. But Star Nomad's a similar kind of game to that. Yeah,
I'm watching the trailer right now on Steam, and it is uncomfortably similar style, uncomfortably similar name. Boy.
Yeah, it's but it's neat. One of the things that's kind of weird about it is the corners of the screen are the jump points in and out. So you can't really like fly past the jump point. It sort of funnels all the ships into the corner. So there's basically like a hard corner to the screen, which is an odd design decision, but I got used to it. But he's got a lot of stuff going in there, like background simulation thing, where if you sit and just watch the map, it's like the different stars have politics with each other, and they'll put fleets against each other and blockade each other and do all kinds of stuff. So it's interesting to, definitely check his game out.
Yeah, no, persistent invasion and defense fleets are on my Trello list. Boy, I am going to have to check this out. 99 whole cents, man. I'm going to grab that.
Yeah, grab Star Nomad 2. It's by far the better game. It was like it was a learning adventure making the first one, and then he perfected it with Star Nomad, which is like $13, I think, but well worth it. So yeah, there's that, and then there's I can't think of the name of it. We just had him on, Brian, the top-down game. It was Star something travel.
Star Sector?
Yeah, Star Sector. That's it. Yeah, Star Sector is... are you familiar with Kenshi? Because Star Sector is Kenshi in space.
No.
Yeah, so put Star Sector on your list. That's a game. It's got a lot of crew management stuff going on in it.
Yeah.
Because it's like, hey, you find a wreck. Do you want to like investigate the wreck? And it's like, oh, you lose like 5 crew, but you gain this much cargo.
Really big ships.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's got the one mechanic in combat that I find is really cool is it's almost like a heat thing, but he calls it flux. So flux powers your shields, but when you have the shields up, you can't vent the stuff. So if you have the shields up and you're taking a lot of damage to the shields, they don't break, but the heat meter goes up. So eventually you're just going to overheat and all your crap shuts down. So it's kind of like you have to break from combat just to cool off, kind of thing. And then like the bigger guns that you shoot, the more heat you build up. And yeah, it's very neat, some of the stuff that they did there.
Oh yeah, I'm actually like I have a similar mechanic to that with my so like I have a passive stealth system in game right now, and that basically just means if you are currently not detected by anyone, you essentially go into a stealth mode, and you can then get very close to somebody. But you have a heat signature that changes size essentially based on whether or not you're firing your main engines or firing any weapons. And so if your heat signature overlaps their detection range, you're detected. But I'm also intending to include an active stealth mode that you can activate anywhere. And it would use some of the exact same ideas where like in active stealth, the idea would be like you are retaining all of your heat. You are not venting any of it so that you're not detected. But that will drain your shields the longer you keep it up. And so it would have that sort of balance of like, yeah, you can sneak in. However, you're going to be at a disadvantage when you jump out of stealth.
Oh, neat. So if you took a game that's kind of like these and you make it like turn-based combat, right? Mm-hmm. And then the NPC, the NPC dialogue stuff that's outside of combat is super deep conversation trees. It's almost like a visual novel, but a lot of it's randomly generated. Some of it is story stuff. And then you have crew management stuff that's like Darkest Dungeon.
Okay, cool.
Right. So that is Star Traders Frontiers, which is the Trace brothers who are in the dev chat. So if you talk to those guys, that thing, dude, I don't know how they update. They put out like 5 updates a day. I don't know what the hell. Like between us having them on and having them on again later in the year, they had 100 updates out. And it was like, what the hell are you guys doing?
Wow.
Yeah, I think they sleep in shifts or something.
They just added carriers to their game.
God damn.
Yeah. And that's going to come to mobile, the mobile version later, but they just pushed that live like today.
Yeah. And that game does like, it's all the things, like just check every box you can think of. It's going on. And plus all the like deep visual novel conversation, text adventure crap. And yeah, it's ridiculous. It's very, very different from what you're doing because it's not like a asteroids, kind of flight model thing.
Yeah.
It's more map movement. And then you see it, you see another ship and it's almost like Final Fantasy. But that's cool.
Right.
Yeah, no, that does look really cool. I have some research to do. There are certainly some good ideas that could be mined. Yeah, that one looks amazing, actually. How have I not heard of these? Because it's not like I haven't been digging into games that are similar or might share or overlap some ideas with mine. But
one of the things about the space game resurgence is that a majority of the space games that have come out in the last 7 or 8 years since it began have been top-down space games, whether it's your Drox Operatives, your Void Expanses, your oh god, what else? 3030s.
Spaz.
Death Wars. Spaz 1 and 2, yes. Oh god, there's more.
Spaz 2 is in 3D, I believe, or at least
god, it is. You're right, but Spaz 1 is
it's even VR, isn't it?
Boss Constructor, Reassembly. What was that one where you had to build a ship but not build it too good because they were going to steal it and you had to fight it? Defect. Thank you.
Then what's Nexus something?
I can't even keep track.
Hold on, I gotta look.
Nexus the Jupiter incident?
No, not Nexus.
No. The other one.
The other one, like freaking Game of the Year, and it's only an alpha. That one.
Cosmeteer?
No, it's like
no, Starcom Nexus.
That's Starcom Nexus. I was thinking Star something Nexus.
Right, yeah.
So Starcom Nexus.
Very Starflighty.
Absolutely put on your investigate.
Very Starflighty, yeah.
Yeah, Starcom Nexus bridges that weird ground between being like just a top-down, escape velocity kind of game, and then it also is the like, and you build your ship. Blocks you snap together, Lego ship thing. Yeah. But it's not like fast action bunch of parts flying off your ship like a lot of the block ship stuff is.
Yeah,
it's more slow. It's very much like like playing a tactical space combat thing, but it also has a ship you can construct yourself. But my message to him when he was on here after having played like, I don't know, 10 hours of his game, it was like, it was really short, right? But I played it through like 4 or 5 times because I was just kind of sucking all the design decisions that he did out. And that's my description of the game is it's like a textbook of correct choices. Whenever he was designing things like where do you put your jump points? How far do you want the player to have to fly without a quick travel stuff?
Yeah.
And it's just, that's why I find that genre very interesting, is because it's people solving the same problem with very different solutions.
Yep. Well, and it's also people focusing on like the bits that they either wished were there or that they really liked and wanted to expand on, like kind of both things. And that's cool to see too. Just like you said, knowing that we all kind of have that same DNA.
Yeah, and there's like
definitely things we got into,
and there's space in the room for this game too.
Yeah,
that's the beauty of this.
Yeah, I mean, there's never enough time or room for. I mean, we always could use more space games, and there's never a lack of room for more good ideas and more good games. I mean, we had such a dearth for so long, that there are a lot now, but like I have a feeling we're gonna need them for the next time.
I feel like it was dearth, like Free Space 2.
It was
basically nothing.
It was Free Space 2, and then a couple years after that, it was iWar 2, and then a year after that, it was Freelancer. And
that's right. God, I loved Freelancer.
Right, and then just a bunch of European games for like a bunch of Eastern, like Star.
Is that as dismissive as it sounds?
No. Well, in some cases, yes. I mean,
like if you're talking about parking, that's crap.
Hey.
Sorry, I had to bring that up. I saw you and Hunter talking about
Parkin'
how
2 is
overjoyed you were that it just came on Steam or GOG rather.
Yeah, Parkin' 2 is fantastic. But for every Space Rangers, there's a Tomorrow War and a Dark Sector and a
Star Wolves.
No, they weren't bad.
No,
but
Star Wars were all right.
It's okay. I just can't take the voice acting in it.
Dark Star 1.
Well, that's different.
Oh man, voice acting is one of those things. If you can't do it well, don't do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Don't do it at all.
Do it.
Like those Star Wars games, man. I don't know if you've heard the voice acting, but it is very, very English is our third language voice acting, and I can't blame them. They worked with what they had. At least we had something coming out for a little while here and there. But
like
it's going to happen again.
Very strong.
Yeah, it's going to happen again. There's going to be another dearth, So in a way, it's good we're getting all this stuff because we're going to need it for the next drought.
Yeah, I wish on the voice acting front though that if back in the day when they were doing that, like the Eastern Euro devs, right, Russians and whatnot, if they would just embrace like, hey man, that's space Russians, it's fine. Right. Yeah. Like just, like if Sean Connery can do a Russian accent, like the native guys can get away with it. It's like, I can totally take that. Like, don't try to sound, Western or whatever. Just be space Russians. Do it.
Yep. No, I can see that. Yeah. Build that right into the lore.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing that Rebel Galaxy and Rebel Galaxy Outlaw is going to have for it is that the main guy is also a professional, like he reads audiobooks and stuff professionally. So
yeah,
I love Rebel Galaxy. I played.
They got a lot of voice actors for this thing, but Travis does a sizable number of characters.
Yeah.
Did you see? He's got his wife doing the bitch and Betty in the cockpit.
Is that his
girl's
wife?
got a voice on her too. Yeah,
is that his wife? Oh
that's
man!
What he said in the stream. I was like, really? Wow,
man.
I wonder if they met like in voice acting school. I don't know, but anyways, super talented, very small team, right? But they got the talent.
I can relate.
Yeah, they got the talent of
5 people. That's huge.
5.
Five people. They don't. How do they have enough to do?
How are they not shipping a video game every week?
What did he say? They're up to like 200 hours of music shit in that game.
There's
200 tracks.
There's I think 5 radio stations, and the repetition is a lot better. Like there's a lot less repetition than there was in Rebel Galaxy. Like
plus he's doing the DJs for the radio station.
The music in Rebel Galaxy was awesome. Like
I
almost didn't mind. I just didn't mind. I was like, oh cool, this song.
No, yeah,
they got
good.
more stuff from they got more stuff from Blue Sereno, that guy from that game.
And he does
a whole mix of other stuff.
I kind of want to pay Travis to do fake commercials for our podcast because, like, the commercials.
Yeah, did he ever get back to you about us doing a fake podcast inside of his game?
No, but I don't think we're I don't have the time.
I don't think so. I
don't have the time to do that.
I would make time for that, but I was joking. I know they don't want it.
If we did it, it should be an NPR style. Welcome to Flipping for Shipping. I am your host. I'm your host, Giles Butterthorn, and joining me as always is your co-host Nigel Fitzwallace. Tonight,
oh God, and we could pad it out. We could pad it out with classical music, right? Because that's all royalty free.
There's already a classical station in the game. Already.
It's too bad.
He's already on that.
It's like up next, Starbuck.
Yeah, just put star in front of everything.
Space Mozart.
Space art.
That's what we need. More space games with deep musical lore.
Yeah, totally. Well, it'd be like Gyrus, right? You know, you just play that fugue and be like 5 jumps.
Yeah, folks. Some of you complain that the stream keeps cutting in and out. I am so sorry about that. I don't know what's going on with the internet. We've dropped almost half our frames tonight.
We sound good.
I mean, Discord thankfully has been sounding okay, so the MP3 of this should be fine. But the stream itself, yeah, it's already restarted once. It's really bad tonight, worse than usual. And
yeah.
some
you might want to just take
the
MP3 and lay it over the video and upload that to YouTube instead of exporting.
Yeah, because I know how to do that. I know editing and
ain't no
things.
Editing?
Yeah.
What's that?
Well, you don't have to sync it up to the video. That's the good part.
Yeah, you just overlay it.
I suppose that's true.
I could do that for you if no one else could. It would not take long.
We have the technology.
I would imagine. Yeah, that's not complicated.
Is it? It's not complicated. Maybe I'll learn how to do it. I'll look at the damn stream once it's done. It
is literally drag and drop.
Really? That's it?
Yeah, you have a video. It's like two lines on a spreadsheet, right? There's one that's the video and one that's the audio. And if you wanted to chop a piece of audio out, it's like select a cell, delete it, slide it together.
You can do that right in YouTube?
Not in YouTube, no. You do it in an external editor, but they're free.
Yeah, OpenShot, is free. And
yeah, I like
that. Wait, what's it called? OpenShot?
Yeah, there's OpenShot, and there's other alternatives, I'm sure. I cut my very tame and unexciting trailer together in OpenShot in about 4 hours. It's totally doable.
I'll have to check OpenShot out, because I use VideoPad, which is like super generic open source thing.
Yeah, OpenShot is also open source, believe it or not, and it's got some weird issues. Make sure you set your frame rate on before you start editing, because otherwise things get weird. If you edit in 30 frames and then you want to export in 60, then all your timing is going to end up screwed up. Yeah, that one really bit me hard.
Oh boy,
learned that lesson the hard way.
It took you 4 hours to make a trailer.
That's not a long time on a trailer.
Oh, really? Really?
Yeah.
Because I keep thinking I should make one for the channel, but I don't know how. I don't got time.
Yeah, it's surprising how long that stuff can how much time that can suck up. And then for a game like mine, cutting together a bunch of top-down footage is it's hard to make interesting, and so you got to sort of string together some sort of narrative. And
how do you do that? I don't know how. I could not go through. I wish I had time to do this or the patience, but go through my videos and find the best clips and then clip that. What? I don't have time for that.
Oh yeah, that takes forever just by itself.
Right?
I actually worked in college as a wedding video editor. And my job was to go through the raw footage, cut out all the crap, and hand the main guy, here's the decent stuff that you can use to put together your video. That was my entire job, was just to cut out the useless stuff. Oh god,
and there's so much useless stuff. There's so
many hours of useless stuff. Yeah.
God.
Yeah, that's when that $30 USB jog dial pays for itself, because you can just speed scrub through videos. Yeah, a knob, you're playing Tempest. All right, it's a spinner, except that it's tied to the video and it free spins. So you can spin it slow, you can spin it fast, you can spin it back and forth, and then you basically whip through the video until you see something, and then dial it in to precisely where you want, and then cut. Jog dials are magic.
It sounds like work. Like,
well, I mean, yeah. Yes.
I mean, I already have a job. I mean, I wish I don't know. People will ask me, why don't you edit your videos? Okay, you want to work my job for me? My 50-hour-a-week job? So I can do that? Go ahead. But you have a full-time job and are still doing this.
And 2 small children, yes.
And that is
it's
impressive.
very busy.
Oh my God.
It's very busy.
Oh my God. I don't know if I could do, if I had even one kid, I'm not sure I could do Space Game Junkie, to be honest with you, because like I'm squeezing in whatever I can for the damn thing, you know? Like, how do you find time with 2 kids and a full-time? Do you juggle it with your wife? I mean, I try not to let work on Stellar Nomad interfere with stuff at home. So I usually am not working at like if the kids are awake and home pretty much. Once I get them to bed, I can work on it for a couple hours in the evenings. And because like I mentioned like before we started that I work remotely and my company is on California time, but I'm on Mountain time and they don't start work there till like 10 o'clock. So that means I don't really have to show up until like 11. I usually start sooner than that so that I can end sooner than, 7 o'clock or something. But don't you have to end
it gives me a few hours in the morning after I drop the kids off where I can, do stuff that makes me feel human, like go ride my bike or work on Nomad or take a nap if the night was horrible. So I mean, I have a few hours, but it does make progress a little bit slow. Like if I could work on this full time, man, it would. Well, I don't know if it'd be done yet, but
well, you could. You just dose them kids with some Benadryl, knock them out.
Yeah, I actually.
Just grind up some Dayquil and put it in their food.
Oh man, Benadryl is like my mom's babies. But I had allergies like really bad when I was a kid, so I slept most of my childhood. She didn't do it on purpose, but yeah.
Oh my God! You know what though? I think in the days like these days of early access and all this transparent development, I don't know if you were into this, but I mean, there are a lot of entitled gamers, out there still. We want it now. But I'm seeing a lot on Steam forums and whatnot that gamers, if you're like open about that sort of thing, they are more patient.
Yeah, I'm actually hoping. Like, I was originally planning to go early access fall, and now I'm actually thinking I want to go early, basically as soon as I get my new logo and new trailer done.
Oh wow! Like Steam
as fast as I can get the Steam page set up, I want to move into early access, in part so that I can like get more feedback. Like the price will definitely be lower while it's in such an early state. But I'd like it to start reaching a bigger audience. Like I've reached that point now, pretty stable. People are playing it and not having huge problems or massive bugs. Like, all right, let's get it in the hands of more people and see if I can't like actually get some community engagement and really grow this thing. But yeah, it's like I'm shocked how much time I spend doing like non-development related work on Nomad, like making the trailer or updating all the different places that I post about it on the internet. Like I'm on Itch, I'm on Game Jolt, I've got a thread going on TigSource, there's Twitter, there's Facebook. Like
I will tell you what,
it shocks me how much time that stuff takes.
Yeah, we talked to so many developers who like had no idea how much time marketing, their game and working on that ancillary stuff, social media and all that would take. Like I keep thinking if I do end up, if my job situation changes, like that's what I should do for people, is like work on that kind of PR stuff. Cause I kind of work in internet marketing. So it's like, I could do that for other people.
Yep. Yeah. And I mean, like I'm a game developer and my day job, I should know how, and it's still totally different when you have to take it all on yourself. Like,
sure. Yeah, my God. It's
and actually
so much
like
work.
That's one of the ways that my wife has stepped in and managed a lot of that sort of thing for me. So I can spend more time just working on the game itself. Cause man, it's like it's like half the week of the time that I have available to work on this project. I got to spend doing that, like just to keep the 50 whole people on the internet who know about this point informed.
Yeah,
it's 60 now.
60 now. Yeah. No, actually, I've been watching my analytics on. So
yeah,
it's going good for me.
It really is amazing. Like, so many developers are just not expecting how much other work goes into game development. I mean, it's just, there's so much to, I mean, especially on a platform like Steam where the competition is, and the visibility are both problems.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And especially in like kind of a niche game, like either you do great, because people find the niche, you find the people who are in the niche and they like your game, or you die in obscurity. And most of the time that's where it goes. Like you just, yeah, it is difficult to go from like no fan base at all to people caring about your game, especially if it's surprisingly challenging.
This sounds like a game dev talk in the world for GDC.
I went to a bunch of GDC talks on this subject this year, as a matter of fact.
So what are they saying this year? Because I watched the one from like 2 years ago. It was like making people care about your game, and it was already brutal. So, but back then it was the deal. It's a stat that I quote a lot on here, which is probably like wicked worse now. It used to be if you put a crap game out, or you put a game that you put 5 years of your life into, you're going to sell about 20,000 copies. And, so that leads to like Flappy Bird syndrome, right? It's like, I can shovel something out every weekend and one of them is going to stick, or I can do my passion project that I devote myself to for a good length of time. Right. So it's like not encouraging quality in the marketplace the way that was. So, but I don't know, because Steam has jacked around with that whole algorithm, especially about like popular new releases. That was freaking me out today. I'm looking at popular new releases. The first page runs like clear back into 2017 for me. and it's like, wait a minute, you only got like, I don't know, 30 games in this list and we cover 2 years. Really? Like, there's got to be more popular new stuff than that. Like, show me popular stuff the last 90 days or something.
Yeah, so I went to a talk by the guy who made 1 Hour, One Life, Jason Rohrer. And that was like my most useful talk at GDC was that one. Because I don't know if you're familiar at all with 1 Hour, One Life. It's a survival game. And here I am advertising somebody else's game. I've never played it, but it's doing like really well for what it is. And he's very comfortable as a result. He was very candid sharing his income and all that sort of stuff that he's made from this project. And he, like, what he did is he didn't just talk about like, oh, I made 1 Hour, One Life and here's what I did to be successful. It was like, I made 1 Hour, One Life. And then I went and I looked at all the other games that are similarly successful or more so and see what they have in common. And so another game that like the one that stuck out from the talk to me that was actually like had at the time of sampling about twice as many concurrent players as 1 Hour, One Life is a game called, that I'm sure everyone here has heard of, called Feed and Grow Fish.
Oh yeah, I own that.
Are you joking?
No, I own it.
Okay. Yeah. So that game makes a lot of money. And it's not like,
is that one of Jason's as well?
No, it is not.
Okay.
It's just another game that's sort of like similarly popular to 1 Hour, One Life. And so he was looking at like other games that have similar concurrency rates on Steam and like, what do they have in common? And it seems to be one of the big threads is what he calls infinite situation generators, where like you can sit down and play this game and something that could happen to you that's never happened to anyone else who's ever played it before, including the guy who makes it. So sandboxy kind of games like are tending to do better on Steam, and they don't necessarily do like explosively well like some of the really big stuff, but they do well enough that they can do well enough to be totally worth the effort. And it also made me think about like different ways that like different audiences I could be trying to tap into. Because I'm thinking like I'm making a space game. I should be targeting people who like space games, which is a reasonable assumption. But also, what about people who like Far Cry? There's actually some similarities. Like there's a sandbox, weird stuff can happen kind of out of nowhere. They might like it, or the Skyrim community might get into it because as open world, there's going to be a narrative that you can either play or ignore. And there's mod support. Like there's a crossover there that I hadn't thought about.
Yeah, it sounds like Freeman. Actually, I forget what the full title is. One of the guys like helped out with, but it's basically Freeman Guerrilla Warfare, which is basically like a procedural.
It's Mount and Blade with guns.
Yeah, basically.
Just leave it right out there. It's Mount and Blade with.
Wait, how have I not heard of this? I have like 1,000 hours of Mount and Blade. I have not.
Here's the thing. It was originally developed with a sci-fi concept, and then they made it closer to modern.
Yeah.
And it's only like $12 or $13. It's like not.
What was that called again?
Freeman Guerrilla Warfare.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
We're going to ruin your wallet tonight. We're just going to.
Well, I haven't bought any of these. It's just going on the wish list.
Game devs come on here and go broke, and they wonder why. It's not because we killed their.
Oh, and it's also like not quite as hideous as Mount and Blade.
Yeah,
I feel like they just are allergic to having good-looking art.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Did you run into the Mount and Blade guys at GDC? And
I did not.
I did Banner Lord. Okay.
No, no. I am waiting patiently for either my children to go to high school or for Bannerlord to come out, and one of those things will happen eventually. So,
well, who knows? Star Citizen might come out before then.
That's how you should market your game. Just say it's Mount and Blade in space.
It does take a little bit away from Mount and Blade. Like I want to use some of the same ideas they have for formation management and strategy, which is admittedly kind of limited in Mount and Blade. But I also really like the idea that you're one person on the battlefield, and you will always just be one person. It's not it's not an RTS where you're commanding everyone in sort of this godlike way. You are actually on a field, and Nomad is similar. Like you are always going to be flying one ship in space, but you can also have a fleet to back you up.
Yeah. The thing that I wished about Mount and Blade when I played it, I played I forget which one. God, there's a few of them. The one that's really popular, not the Napoleon.
Warband.
Yeah, Warband. That's it. Warband kind of modded up. It's cool, but the multiplayer mode in that is more like, okay, we're going to load a map and throw the players on there. And what I was hoping was that it would be multiplayer with the open world.
Yes.
And then I could run into
and you could actually fight with your armies against another player. Yes,
it's like I want it to
have multiplayer, and then it wasn't that at all.
Yeah. It's like I want when Warband comes out, I want it to be like Total War, except all the units are people.
Yeah.
And then but give me like moving around on the big map. And if we happen to run into somebody else's army, that's great. Yeah.
Oh man, I'd be stoked if it was just like, even if it was just two players, one commanding each army, and had a bunch of NPCs. Like that, I would have really liked.
Yeah, it's just like you lose the whole map and all the NPC interaction and everything, and it just becomes like Battlefield kind of thing. Yep. It's just kind of like but yeah, I mean it's fun in its own way. But did you ever play the War of the Roses, which was a derivative thing from Mount and Blade, but it was multiplayer only. Yeah, it's unfortunately dead now, but it was like a Mount and Blade kind of thing. And the problem that they ran into is like whenever you go into that game, it would be like people would load up the like arena map, and then it's just like, well, let's just joust in the arena. But the actual game was what's that other medieval FPS?
Chivalry?
Yeah, Chivalry. Okay.
Sure.
So imagine Chivalry with a bigger map and complex objectives. right? So it might be like a 5-step thing to bust down the drawbridge, get in the castle, do whatever, right? So it's almost like in the Battlefield games with rush mode, where it's like the spawn point and the objectives like push back and forth across the map as things go on. Much more complicated than Chivalry. And it had the Mountain Blade combat in it, which is better than Chivalry. So Chivalry, it's cool, but it's kind of Twitch. It's like Doom compared to that. But this was really super cool the way that they did it, and unfortunately, the community just didn't really stick to it. Maybe it was like too slow, too complicated for what it was trying to do. But I really enjoyed it. But Gloria Victis might interest you. It's still very early alpha that they're doing there, but it's 3 armies on the map, and it's got a little bit of a town building thing. Like you have to go out and chop wood and actually build your fortress and your town and stuff, right? There's an economy of that. And then you go out and raid the other kingdom. And, but it's all humans, basically. There's NPCs to kill, but I think everybody that you're going to fight is going to be Gloria. Yeah. So Brian just put a thing in the chat for Gloria Victis.
Yeah, 50% off on Steam right now.
Yeah, it's worth it at that price. Full price, it's too early. But yeah, it's kind of neat. And then there's like boss fight stuff. Like I saw some people fighting a giant up in the hills and that. So there's some weird stuff in there.
Oh, my wish list is growing. Yay. I'm gonna have a hard time not buying this one right now because it's on sale. Hey.
Yeah, I would say watch a video of it, and if it sticks to you, then grab.
The one you should buy if you haven't bought it already is Star Sector. That's really the one you should definitely buy.
That one's actually at the top of this list that it keeps getting longer.
Because Star Sector is that mountain
as this goes on.
Space.
Yeah, that's also been an early access. Well, not Steam early access, but that went on sale, I think, early 2011. And it's not done yet.
What was it called back then?
Starfarer. But then
did we get into with him why the name changed?
He didn't want to talk about it. He didn't want to talk about it.
Oh, that's right. He was just like, no, it's not.
So I remember something about that. I remember a game changing its name at some point. I think it was Starfarer. I'm vaguely familiar with it.
Yeah. It's probably because the geniuses at Star Citizen also have a ship called the Starfarer.
There's also a game called Starfarers of Catan. Yeah, what? There's like a...
Oh, you know what?
There's a Google autocomplete suggestion called Starfarers of Catan.
You know what? I'm betting that he ran into the Catan people. I would bet.
Oh, man.
That's where the collision was.
I've never even heard of this. Oh, it's a board game. That's what I've never heard of.
Yes.
It's not
but it's
Catan.
But it's not a video game.
Catan's got bank. So, yeah. They could have caused him more trouble than Star Citizen would over a ship name, that's for sure.
I don't know. God, Star Citizen has a lot of money too, so
yeah.
They do, but they're blowing it on like coke and hookers and hot tubs and whatever. Oh, I'm sorry, I was back in the 90s game development again.
Oh.
That was Virgin Interactive, sorry.
I have heard some stories. One that actually is exactly like that.
Did it involve Virgin Interactive as well?
It was Angel Studios, I think.
Oh.
Let me think. Am I remembering that right?
That sounds familiar.
They don't exist anymore.
The story I heard was like whenever they were liquidating, they were actually eBaying off hot tubs. So I'm just saying.
Oh yeah, Angel Studios, founded in '84. In November 2003, they were bought by Take-Two and renamed to Rockstar San Diego.
Well, that explains everything.
Yep.
Oh, look at this! Yep. They did Midnight Club Los Angeles. I love that game. Actually, looks like they did all the Midnight Clubs. Well,
I think Midnight Club LA was like my favorite Midnight Club.
Oh, it's so good. It's so
that
good.
And Dub Edition.
I still load it up every now and again because it's just such a great game. Wow, they did Red Dead 2. Look at that. Okay, well these guys are doing all right apparently.
Yeah. So, I mean, Rockstar San Diego is doing fine.
So interesting since the Virgin Interactive thing comes up though, is that podcast that I started listening to a couple weeks ago, the Retro Hour. It's some guys out of the UK that are interviewing devs over in the UK, right, about that business over there, which was very, very different than the American software business and that. So they were talking to, on the last episode, it was the guy who was sales manager for Commodore. And he talks about like how he got his first job, because he used to sell like car conditioning chemicals, and then went in for an interview about selling computer software and like just jumped over into that. But now he's still active in the business, right? But he ended up like working for Commodore, working for it wasn't US Gold, it was their competitor. I can't think of the name of but then he was like in the mix with Mastertronic. And, you know, like he's talking and I'm hearing these company names that it's been like 20 years since I heard these names. And it was like, oh yeah, I remember those guys. Right. But yeah, he was telling some of those stories, you know, like going over to Richard Branson's house, getting trashed.
Some guy you might have heard of.
Yeah. It was like they had the idea about like, hey, let's play video games on airplanes, because they had Virgin Air. So they're like, let's install video games in the back of the headrests of the planes and stuff, and then we'll get our software in there, and then people will buy the game. Yeah, it was like that whole deal. Super interesting guy, because he talks like nothing about he's not like fan of games. He's a business dude who just happened to work in games, but he's not at all what I would call a gamer. So he's talking about so he's talking about like behind the curtain, you know, what the Wizard is like. And it's just like, wow, this is the whole other story that you don't hear, and super fascinating. But that's a Retro Hour podcast. Definitely worth, I subscribed to that thing so hard after I listened to one episode.
Yeah. British devs seem to be a bit different than, at least back in the 90s. American devs.
Like the stuff he was talking about, because what was fascinating to me, and I would like next time we have somebody from UK on, I want to talk to him about this, especially somebody that did like Amstrad games.
You're gonna have to get up early. I mean, you're gonna have to take off work. I know.
So just do it for me then. But the deal though, he was talking about the software industry where a game would come out like in America, and it would be selling over here, and then they wanted to sell it in Europe. But the problem was that nobody in Europe had floppy drives. They all had cassette tapes.
What?
So then they started a business. Yeah. It was like the Commodore was mostly a cassette-based business over there. And then we had floppy disks over here. It might take like 5 cassette tapes to get a floppy disk's worth of shit. So then they would repackage the game on like 5 cassette tapes and sell it over there. And it's like, I can't imagine the load time. Holy shit. But, you know, but it's like, well, this is what your customers have. So if you want to sell this game in shops over there, then you got to do that. But it was like the beginning of the software sales industry. It was more like door-to-door salesman stuff. It wasn't like you're a distributor and you pick the phone up and, yeah, how many thousand copies do you want to order? It was like knock on the door of the computer shop in this town. Like, hey, can I sell you 10 of these? It was crazy stories, man. That's why I said I was just wrapped listening to this guy for like an hour and a half or however long they had him on.
Jeez.
Yeah, it was just like every time he started talking, it was like something I'd never heard before. And it's just like, damn, it's like that. Because UK, you get a lot of Spectrum stuff and Amstrad and, you know, Acorns and things, but he was talking Commodore, which was like my thing when I was a kid. And, you know, but seeing their perspective of it, you know, and it made me remember like some old Cosme games that I had and stuff like that. It's good times.
So, the roadmap for Stellar Nomad is looking like what? You want to get into early access as soon as possible. So you're thinking like 2020 release?
I would expect that a 1.0 release. I don't want to put anything too specific on it, but I would say early to mid 2020 for 1.0. It's a little bit hard to plan my time just because there isn't a ton of it available to work on the project. But that is kind of my target, is early to mid 2020 for 1.0.
That seems like a very reasonable target. I mean, who knows what's going to come out next year? I certainly don't. I mean, Squadron 42 maybe? No, I'm kidding.
Could be.
No, it's not.
Did you see the new point release that they put up with the city?
You mean the city that apparently doesn't actually do anything? It just looks good, but you can't actually do anything with it?
That's the game, bro. But, yeah.
Yeah, one city on one planet. How many systems were they planning? 30?
Well, they're filling them in, but it's basically like it's the endless city, right? It just generates city as you fly over it. It's a Coruscant is kind of how I had it described to me, where it's
and any of these places you could just pop down and say hello and walk around, and there's stuff to do. Nothing to do, but you could probably plop down. But see, that's the thing. Like whenever we talk about games that have a lot of surface area and a small amount of content, is like put the content in a central area, right? Like I'll use Elite because that's the easy one because people are familiar. Like there's 10 different political powers. They each have a homeworld, so there's 10 places. And then go out, I don't know, 30 light years from there and just, put a sphere around each one of the capital planets, 30 light years. That's where the content is. So if you want to go pick up quests or whatever, that's the place. And then when you fly outside of that, now you're out in the boondocks doing free trade or whatever. But if you want to be like, well, hey, I heard there's new content and I want to be funneled toward it, then you fly back to the core, right, of like whatever power you belong to, and then start talking to NPCs inside the content bubble. And
it'd be great if that's how it worked. Be great.
I know, right? Like just call the man, tell him. Maybe in a year when they start updating their game again.
Whatever. Yeah. Anyway, I mean, yeah. So take your time. I mean, there's so much coming out. The best way you can differentiate your game from others is to take the time to do it right if you can.
Yeah, I mean, there was a point in time where I was like, boy, I got to get this few other games that are niche that are in now. I've missed that window. And at this point, if I'm going to stand out, it's going to be because the game is polished and
exactly
like well done and fun to play. And so I'm just going to take the time I need. And like I said, ideally get into early access and start getting some people who care and give me feedback on that sort of thing. So that I know that I'm doing the right thing. Because yes, I work in video games, but mostly I make tools. So it's, not super relevant necessarily, except for the programming chops.
So you're sort of a digital carpenter.
In what sense?
Well, you make tools, right? So.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I mean, like my job is mostly to make other people's suck. Like, let's figure out how to make the cutscene pipeline a thing. Like, we put scene in Unreal 4 because as it turns out it really doesn't support that. So yeah, like that's my day-to-day. How do we get lip sync into the game? How do we I don't know, there's a bunch of weird problems.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, right? Like we don't often talk on the show about it, but I'll catch devs off to the side, and just be like, "Oh, how'd you do that?" Right? And then they'll tell the tale of woe of their epic struggle to like make lip sync work, stuff like that. And with the Rebel Galaxy guys, was talking to them about it, and they were like, "Yeah, we could have hard coded this whatever, or we could have used whatever engine, but we want to be able to like edit this stuff in." Without having to animate this whatever. So then we bought this package that actually will automate lip sync from stuff and that, but then the challenge is to integrate somebody's third-party package into your existing game.
That sentence that you just said, that's a big part of my day. Specifically, like we bought a lip sync package that will generate the animation. We got to have some way to automate them and some way to automatically import them and some way to link them into our dialogue system so that they'll actually play when they're supposed to. Yeah. Like just because you have the data doesn't mean you know how to use it.
See, there should be a Discord somewhere, a secret Discord where all of you integration guys actually hang and like just share like how the hell you solved whatever, right? Because it's not, I don't see it.
There is not one of those.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is like maybe
I'm saying somebody. Oh, you can't see me, but I'm winking when I say that.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's definitely a community of people who share the tips and tricks of the trade for that sort of thing. Because man, there's a lot of it, and it's some of that stuff you'd think like this is a solved problem. Like video games have cutscenes. This is a solved problem. There's an out of the box solution for this. No, there is not.
Yeah,
there is not.
There isn't.
Do you do anything with Substance Painter or Substance Designer?
Today, actually, yes. I've just finished a tool that will let people mask out of their Perforce workspace by username substance files created by other users because they are so friggin' large that we are filling up terabyte hard drives like it's nothing. And there's really no reason to look at somebody else's substance file most of the time. Right. And so, yes. Do I actually use it all that much? No.
Okay. Because if you want to talk to that guy, then he's a friend of mine. So.
I want to talk to him about why substance files are so large. There's literally no other conversation I want to have with a substance developer besides why is an SPP file 5 gigabytes? Please tell me. How can you make that smaller? Please help me. We're dying.
That's great.
Yeah, it's
actually, yes.
Kamikaze in the chat.
Yeah.
Okay, so Kamikaze actually used to work with Josh whenever they worked at Crytek Austin back in Z Day. So yeah, but that's the guy. His name's Josh. I can actually give you his contact info if you want to talk to him about why his product sucks. I mean, optimize his product.
The product is so amazing that we can't not use it, but also it's creating a massive logistical problem. So yeah, no, I would love to talk to that guy actually. Very friendly, definitely not aggressive at all. And I mean that sincerely, but I would love to talk to him and see like, is there anything coming? Like, this is really hurting us.
Yeah, dude, those guys got so successful in the industry. I mean, I assume that everybody is kind of dependent on Substance at this point. Algorithmic, I think. Their company name.
Yeah, it's substance abuse.
Yeah. Well, so the deal, he was like the only American employee because the whole company is in France, right?
Yeah.
So he did what I would do. It's like I'm the only employee. I can move wherever I want. I'm going to move back home. Which is back where I'm from too. We grew up actually like I could throw a rock and hit his house, but we didn't know each other back then. But he moved back to that Ohio economy where it's like a nickel to a dollar kind of exchange rate, right? So he can do pretty good. And then he was just like working out of his house, and then it was like, okay, I got to hire a guy. I got to hire another guy. So he ends up with like out of his basement. And then they got to the point where it's like, okay, screw this. I got to like rent an office space. So at this point now he's like managing an office full of people as opposed. And I watched this growth over like 2-3 years. And it's like, those guys must be kicking serious ass to be like bringing on support staff like that, because their support load was just massive. And those are the dudes that do integration stuff. So it's like, I can't solve this problem. You call them. So if you've called them, you probably talk to one of those dudes.
Yeah. One of the things I had to do for Substance Painter was integrate version control because there isn't an existing plugin for that. There is not. And that blows my mind. That's another one of those questions. Yeah. Why don't you guys have Perforce support or Subversion or Git anything, please? Yeah.
People still use Subversion?
Oh yeah. The last place I worked was they were all big on the SVN. I had never used it before, so that was a learning experience for me, especially because some of the terminology is like reversed if you're using Perforce versus SVN. Like checkout means something entirely different in Subversion Perforce.
So back whenever I worked for NetApp, the guy sitting next to me, who also he moonlighted as a voice actor. So in Wasteland 2, he's a couple of characters in there. So, but I'm sitting next to this guy, and he's, and this is like before Fallout 4 came out, and Bethsoft's on the phone because their source repository was on our storage hardware, and they had just like crashed a 14 disk aggregate that had that on, and we're trying to like recover Fallout 4. So yeah, that was a Saturday and a Sunday that we spent like, you know, doing shift handovers trying to like save Fallout 4, which we did because you're playing it. So there you go. It was more him than me, but it was just like, you know, one of those like, yay, I was there.
Any who's will be. My brain is melting, so let's start wrapping it up if you don't mind.
No problem. You did say lean into the tangents, and I feel like
no. This was
no, this is light, man.
No, it's a conversation, and that's how a conversation goes. It's how a conversation. We did talk about the game. It's not like we ignored it. We talked quite a bit about the game. So folks, if you're unaware, you can go to itch.io right now and get the pre-alpha tech demo thing.
It's a slice.
It's a slice, little tiny piece of pie of little sliver, you know, of a piece of pie that is Stellar Nomad. There's a video I play of me playing it on the YouTube channel. It's really fun, and I had a great time playing it for, you know, before I got murdered repeatedly. But that's gonna happen.
It will.
Yeah, that's good. That's gonna happen, especially in the early game of these kind of games. But yeah, it's on itch.io right now. You can download the demo. Let's just call it a demo for free, and you should definitely check it out. It's going to be coming to Steam Early Access, quote unquote, soon.
It's literally just soon-ish. Held up at this point by marketing, and probably whenever the 0.3 update. That I think is the version I would like to take to early access. So,
well, also it's held up by life because you have kids and a full-time job.
Well, there's that.
So I mean,
there's that.
Let's be clear. But folks, this is a fun-looking game. It's going to be a real fun sandbox. I think we will definitely have to have you back on in a little while to check in. You know, see how things are coming along.
I would love to come back. That would be awesome. Talk about the new things that are happening, and you know.
So you could run a daycare Kickstarter just to raise funds to get the kids out of your case.
GoFundMe.
It's like I don't need money. I don't need money to make the game.
They are in daycare. Yeah. I could not work at home and also take care of sort of.
Oh God.
Never work.
That sounds insane.
Like they are both very active little children, and my job requires a whole lot of attention. I just couldn't do both. So they're in daycare. I work from home, but my kids are not here. So there's that.
Right. Well, thank you to your wife for watching the kids while we record. Appreciate that.
She's awesome.
She's not old enough to ship them off to summer camp yet, so you could like crunch time.
So, folks, just a couple of notes before we finish. Because my brain, I'm sorry, I'm falling apart here. Just a couple of notes before we finish. We're not having a LAN party this Thursday due to extenuating circumstances, i.e. Spaz is going to Rift Tracks live.
Rad.
What's the show, Spaz? Octoman? Oh my God! They're gonna be releasing that at some point, right? Like as a VOD.
Yeah. Okay. They'll do the VOD for that as well.
Okay, good. I do. We love Rift Tracks. I'm still upset about.
I don't think I've ever heard of Octoman though. Is that a
you haven't heard of Octoman? Well, that's impressive. That's impressive because you're like the terrible movie. You're the terrible movie connoisseur around here. As far as
that basically was my full-time podcast job before this one was bad movies. And
you like every bad movie we mentioned up until this one you've seen or know of. So this might be a first, you guys.
It reminds me of a movie that I saw called Argo Man, ARGO Man.
Oh God,
look that one up.
That sounds awful.
Look that one up. I'll put the trailer in the.
Are you talking about the Italian?
Yeah.
The what?
So there's an Italian movie series
What?
There's another one. It even has the rift tracks as well. Super Argo versus the Faceless Giants. Yeah.
So rift tracks has already been there, huh?
Oh God.
Oh yes.
Oh God.
Oh yes.
All right. So yeah, no LAN party this week, and I have to admit, for the podcast next week, I have no idea what we're going to be doing because I haven't had any time or energy to get a guest. So we'll probably do a topic unless I can rustle up a guest. We'll do something.
Oh crap, dude! I got a guest. I got it.
What?
We got to talk to Kamikaze about MechWarrior Living Legends.
No, we are not.
Remember, he said, no, seriously, he said he would come on and talk about developing MechWarrior Living Legends.
We're seriously, not it's not a space game though. We got to be on topic. Unless they want to make. God. I'm serious. That's how we keep going. Is we stay hyper laser focused.
Okay, so we're gonna laser focus, not have a show.
No, we'll have a show. We'll have a show. I just don't know what it'll be on yet. But we'll do something.
It'll be on Tangents. It's Tangent Night.
It'll be Tangent Night.
Show.
Or Quaaludes, depending on, Could be on Quaaludes.
Tangents are a hell of a drug.
You guys can ask me questions about Rebel Galaxy Outlaw for 2 hours. How is that? Because I'll probably be about 40 hours in at that point.
Wait, is that out? Have I missed that?
I was very fortunate that
do you have special connections there?
Travis Baldry himself emailed me and was like, if you promise not to record any of this, do you want a copy to help me test it? You don't say no to that. So
No, you do not.
I've got about 20 hours in to Rebel Galaxy Outlaw, and I dream about this game. I want to play it every waking moment. I want to play it right now. I don't care about you people. I watched a bit of it.
I was there for it.
Yeah, it's still up.
No,
he said he was going to delete it, but it's still there.
It started when I was going to bed the other night. So I was like, I watched like 2 minutes of it and then went to bed. And then I skimmed it because I've been so busy. So I've skimmed bits of it. But yeah,
at what point do you think EA watches that video and then realizes how much they ate shit whenever they told them no about their Star Wars version?
Or no Privateer or whatever. Oh my God.
Yes.
But this game, you guys, keep an eye out for Rebel Galaxy Outlaw. If you want to talk about that next week, we can talk about that next week. I'll probably have another 10 hours in it by then, maybe 20. It's so good. It's so good. I'm not even, this isn't hyperbole or anything. It's so good. Oh my God.
I'm very excited about that game. I love Rebel Galaxy. I got a little.
Oh my God. This
maybe 25.
I've already passed the time I put into Rebel Galaxy in this, and I've only done maybe 3 story missions. It's been all side missions. It's been all side missions, random encounters, and distress calls. That is all I've been doing. And I've been having.
I love a game that has enough content like that I can ignore the story. For as long as I want.
Yeah,
that's actually. Yeah, that's my target on Nomad, is to give you enough other stuff to do that you can ignore the story and still have a great time.
And the great thing is, now to get around the solar system, like remember in Rebel Galaxy, you had the sublight thing where you warble across the. Well, now you still have that, but you also have a Wing Commander style autopilot. But they both get interrupted by the same thing. So you'll be going along, 2 seconds later. Oh, there's a distress call. Do you want to handle it? Yes, I do. I'll go fly up that way. And it might not always be the same kind of distress call. It might be a trap, or they might have to scan a black box and go somewhere else. So, there's so much to do. And oh my God. Maybe we'll talk about that next week. It's just how good Rebel Galaxy Outlaw is going to be. Oh my God, it's so good. Anyway. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm just giddy just talking about it. I just can't.
So we should call that like the hype fap session.
Yeah, maybe. Anyway, I'm basking in the afterglow of Rebel Galaxy.
Do you need to be alone? Like,
yeah, okay? I might need a minute on my own.
Do you need a shower?
I need to clean up. Anyway, oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Oh, God. I'm sorry. That got really crass really quick.
This is a family show.
Family, damn it. God darn it. It's a family, gosh, Willikers show. So Evan, thank you for coming on and being willing to
absolutely.
just have a great, it was a great conversation. We did talk about your game, but it was also a great conversation. I enjoyed it. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
I'd love to come back. You made the offer, so I'm just saying.
Yeah,
cool.
We definitely want you back.
We don't have a guest next week, so
we'll definitely have you back.
Spoilers: I'm going to have nothing done new next week. Not one thing. This week is going to be a nightmare. Nothing's happening.
The whole show is. So how's it going? That's the whole show. Good night, everybody.
It's exactly the same as last week. Thanks for coming, everybody.
Yeah, but seriously, folks, thank you for coming and asking questions. And again, apologies about the internet quality tonight. The MP3 should be much better, but I don't know what's going on with the internet tonight. It's just bad all around. But thanks for watching and listening, everyone. And again, check it out, Stellar Nomad on itch.io, and we will see you next week. Have a great week and weekend.